Are you minding your mental when life gets loud and nothing seems as simple? Make sure you're minding your mental. Focus on where you're headed, not just what you've been through. Nobody knows you like you do, and God will help to see you through. Be the first one to give yourself a helping hand. Just take a chance by minding your mental. Get behind that wheel and take control. You only have one life, don't let it pass you by. It's really that simple. Let's start by minding the mental.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mind the Mental Monday. I hope everybody has had a fantastic week. Hope you're off to a great start to this week. I want to thank everybody for who tuned in last week to our 100th episode. Thank you to all of some of the former guests that have um, been with me on Mind the Mental Mondays over the course of the 100 episodes, who popped in just to say congratulations and to just give some additional tidbits of wisdom and knowledge about ways that they continue to mind their mental in the various aspects of their life and expertise and so forth. So thank you, everybody, for rocking with me all these 100 episodes. And now we're on episode 101. And I'm super excited to continue going with Mind the Mental Monday. I want to thank my oldest daughter, Jasmine Weathers, for creating and performing the new theme song for Mind the Mental Monday. And so I'm just elated that she did that for me. And yeah, so I am looking to go harder and go higher as we continue these Mind the Mental Monday episodes. And I hope and pray that everyone who listens, even if you listen to just part of it, will get something good and special out of it that will help you with ways to mind your mental on the daily. All right, so let's get started with this episode of Mind the Mental Monday. Tonight, we're going to talk about the topic of everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Now, how did that come up? As you know, typically when I come up with topics for Mind the Mental Monday, it's typically something that resonates with me, something that I'm dealing with that I think other people have to be dealing with this too, right? So, or, it's something that either I have dealt with in the past or something that I am dealing with currently. And so this is another topic. I think 2 weeks ago, I can't remember exactly what the topic was, but I was dealing with a topic that I was, feeling in the moment and still working through. And so tonight is much the same. This is a topic that really resonates with me because it's kind of how I've been feeling lately, like I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so what does that mean? So for me, what that means is I have like a lot of things in my head. I have a lot of ideas. I also just have a lot on my to-do lists, and I mean to-do lists, plural, because in all the different facets of my life, I have, from my work to being an associate pastor to preparing for other things in the family and things like that. I've got stuff on all these lists. of things that need to get done. And they are just all sort of in my head to a point where it's like been hard for me to just move. And so it's like the everywhere is all the places and things in my head that like need to get done. And then the nowhere is it's just gets so overwhelming and a lot where I just feel stuck. I find myself just sort of sitting and staring, either staring at the computer screen or staring at the TV screen or staring out the window, just staring, right? Just being completely unproductive. And it's when you sort of get in that realm, sometimes it's really hard to kind of, dig out of it when you find yourself in a rut and it's just like you just feel like there's just so many things to do and you're trying to do everything and yet nothing is really happening. Like you just don't see progress, what feels like progress, right, in any given area. And so that's kind of where I'm at tonight. So I thought, let's talk about it. And if you can identify with me, like just put something in the chat, give me just say, yes, I identify. Like, let me know. Do you identify with this? Um, one of the things that I would like to do, well, I am planning to do, one of the things on the to-do list is that I'm planning to, so last Saturday I did an event called Rewriting the Song in Your Head. If you missed it, you missed it. I'm sorry. But I will likely do it again at some point. But my other goal is to actually take some of these Mind the Mental Mondays that I've done and to do them as a group in on a Zoom call, where you can call in and you can be you. We had some people on the Zoom call last week who won prizes. I usually do like some kind of raffle. And those of you who won your prizes, they will be they are coming. They are going to be in the mail. Um, and I just appreciate that you stopped by. But I want to do more of that, probably something like on a quarterly basis, just to be able to bring people in um, and have these kinds of discussions. And so look forward to that. So this will likely be one of them. Because I think that there are people who can identify with this, that there's just so much going on. Because it's not even just so much just the things that you might have to do in your own life, but we have to do that while at the same time dealing with the things that are happening in society. So we have to deal with the things, in the workplace, in the home, wherever you worship, in the community, in the country, in the world. Like we are all impacted by all of it. And it can seem like a lot. And so when you have all of that outside of you, and then you have it converging with all the stuff in here, it's a lot, right? It's a lot to try to clean that out and pan it down to where it needs to be, where you can actually, take chunks of it and do a piece of it, get a piece of something done, but with enough consistency where you're making progress in the different areas that you might need to make progress. So we're talking about everywhere and nowhere at the same time, why you're busy but not productive, and how to refocus your mind. A goal of Mind the Mental Monday is not only to sort of talk about a problem or an issue that impacts us mentally, but also to provide practical strategies for working through those challenges. And sometimes you can work through them alone. Sometimes you need to work through them with somebody. It could be, as I say often, it could be a therapist, it could be a coach, it could be a faith leader, it could be a good friend. It could be a variety, but whatever works for you, be sure to tap into those resources that you have with intention. Don't just sort of sit idly by and let these things just happen to you, because I know one of the things that happens to me is that when I find myself in a space of just kind of staring in space and not accomplishing anything, it's because I haven't decided yet to move with intention. So one of the things that helps me really is to do a brain dump. And we've talked about this before, and people, this is something that a tactic, a strategy that a lot of people in the mental health space talk about. But just the idea of just taking a minute, maybe more than a minute. You might need more than a minute, but just to kind of dump out everything that's going on in your head, like just write it down in no order, no rhyme or reason, but just writing it all down, whatever it is, whatever you're thinking about, whatever is forefront in your mind, all the things, just write it down, and it's sort of like dumping it out of your head onto paper, where you can then sort of prioritize. You can look and you can say, okay, this is something that I need, this is important. I need to get this done like ASAP, right? Well, but this here, this can wait. This is really not that important. I'm not even thinking about that right now. And you just take a couple of things that are very important that you need to get done, and you're going to strategically sit and plan, map out a strategy for getting it done. Put it on a calendar, put it on a to-do list, put a time line stamp or a time line on it by which you want to get it done or plan to get it done, put a date there. Like those are things that can help you actually start to move. Once you kind of get all of that gunk out of your brain and down, you can see more clearly, because when it's just in your head, I don't know about you, but it just swims around in your head. It's just like, you ever see pictures of like a brain with just a bunch of just squiggly lines all around it? That's kind of what it seems like, It's kind of like if you were to imagine what that kind of brain looks like, that you have a whole lot of stuff. It's just like a bunch of squiggly lines. It's kind of like your brain is like one of the parents on Charlie Brown. It's like womp 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 womp. Y'all remember that? Like how the parents used to talk, the adults in Charlie Brown were always like womp 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 womp. Like you can't understand anything they're saying. They're saying something though. You just don't understand what they're saying, right? And so that's how our brains get, and it just gets gunked up. So the start of it is to be intentional, to dump that stuff out. And I typically like to do that. I usually play some lo-fi chill music in the background, kind of very low, and that tends to kind of help me stay focused. But I've been trying to do that since last night and I have not done it. So, so there's that. So, you know, you got to be intentional and you got to act on the intention if you want to make a change. And you can't think that just sitting around not doing anything and just allowing yourself to stare into space is going to change anything. It's just not, right? It's not going to change a thing. So intentionality is always the beginning of any kind of change that you want to see. So let's talk about what it looks like. And I described sort of what it looks like for me, like being sort of everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Yeah, that's called an oxymoron, like, because they're two polar opposite things, like sort of just converging at the same time. And so some signs that you might be in this kind of mindset, one is mental clutter and overthinking. I cannot tell you how many times I have like overthought a thing. Have you ever had that experience where it's really something that is really small, but in your mind, you sort of blow it up to something way bigger than what it really is. You're just overthinking. It's like, and then you have to, I talk to myself. So I'm like, Benita, it's not that serious, girl, snap out of it. Like, I have to say stuff to like that to myself. Anybody else talk to yourself out loud? I don't think I'm the only one. Y'all not gonna leave me there by myself. But yes, I definitely talk to myself out loud. So sometimes often. I'm gonna probably more often than I should, but it is what it is. That's what I do. It helps me sometimes to kind of snap myself out of these mental states that I might find myself in, like the one I'm in right now, that I need to just really snap myself out of, right? So mental clutter and overthinking, busyness without fruit. How many of you have ever found yourself just being busy? I mean, you're doing a whole lot. You're here, you're there, you're everywhere. It's a lot of busyness going on. You're doing a lot of busy things, but there doesn't seem to be any fruit as a result of all of your labor and all of your toiling. Like, doesn't seem to really be producing much of anything, or at least it doesn't feel that way to you. So that's another sign of feeling like you're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Jumping from idea to idea, just like you got a bunch of ideas. And many of us are creative. And so, creatives, and it doesn't matter really what kind of creativity or creative you are, whether it's like music or, writing books or plays or just coming up with great ideas. We often will come up with really great ideas and they remain ideas. And so, like, what's the point in having all these great ideas if they're just going to stay ideas? Like, you got to put in the work to make the ideas come to fruition. And yeah, I have a lot of great ideas, but I find myself, but because I'm everywhere, nowhere at the same time, a lot of times those great ideas remain an idea on paper and never come to light. Um, because I just feel so overwhelmed just by life and a lot of things that are happening, and in life. And so it's important to, to again, when you get those ideas out, to start to work on them. So, but at the same time, when you do make some kind of accomplishment, when you do accomplish something toward getting an idea, move from an idea to reality, give yourself a little pat on the back. Be proud of that moment, say, I did that. Because when you acknowledge what you have done and what you have accomplished, that might propel, propel you forward so that you can get something else done toward that idea or make that idea even greater. So give yourself credit where credit is due. Um, Feeling overwhelmed but not accomplished, lack of clarity and direction. I feel like that is where I have landed really and where I have been for a little while, like a lack of clarity and direction, like just trying to figure out, am I moving in the right direction in my life? Is what I'm doing currently in line with my purpose in this moment? Is what I'm doing aligned with what my creator, with God, with the Holy Spirit would be, is moving me toward? Am I putting in the work that I need to put in order to accomplish the things that I believe that God has called me toward or has purposed me in this moment? And then the other thing is when you are moving in a direction where you do feel like you're clear about the direction that you should be going in, sometimes you still get discouraged because you feel like you still feel unaccomplished. Um, and that has to do with how you define what accomplished means, or what it means to be accomplished, what that means to you. How do you define being accomplished? Do you find being accomplished, for example, as, okay, I finished writing the book? That's accomplished? Or do you mean, or is accomplished for you, I finished writing the book and I've sold 1,000 copies? Or is it, I finished writing the book and I sold 1,000,000 copies and I'm getting booked to speak on all these different platforms about the book? Do you see how your idea, like whatever your idea of accomplished is, how it can vary? The product can be the same, the whatever the thing is that you feel like you were trying to accomplish, um, but the different levels of where that can go versus where it is, determines whether or not you feel accomplished in the thing. So I can say, for example, with my book, The Scream Within, you know, like most books do, the majority of those of sales, if you're just looking at sales, will happen in the very beginning when you first release the book. That is where the majority of your sales will come out of that. But you know, it, I have not accomplished with that work what I would like to be, what I would like to accomplish. So, I do feel accomplished in having written it. I do feel accomplished in having had several opportunities over the last few years of going on different platforms and sharing it. Uh, but I want more. I want more. I want to do more with it. But then the question becomes, do you have the wherewithal to get to the more that you're looking for, whatever that is? Are you willing to put in the hard work? Are you willing to put in the extra hours? Because especially if you're somebody who, like me, like works a full-time job as well as other responsibilities that are sort of at the top of the list, um, you know, you might find yourself you needing to, get a few couple hours less sleep to accomplish a goal. Like, what is it worth to you, to get it to wherever you think it needs to be? And what are you willing to sacrifice, to get there? So those are all questions that you have to kind of ask yourself. Um, and so when you are in this state of like everywhere and nowhere at the same time, what can happen? The emotional toll that it can have on you is, one, frustration. It is frustrating when you feel like you have a gift that needs to be shared and you lack clarity about how to share it, where to share it, how to really get it out there. It can become very, very frustrating. And when you get so frustrated and flustered, it can be very discouraging. And it can even, cause you to just lose faith altogether that whatever it is that you feel like is your purpose, or what you're wanting to get out to the rest of the world, like it starts having you to doubt, is it even worth it? And many of us, have been there. And then if you allow yourself to get there, then you can start to feel guilty about it. You start to feel guilt because it's like, well, I worked on this, whatever the product is. I put in a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort went into this. And now I'm just going to give up on it. You can feel really, a sense of guilt for giving up, but you can also feel a sense of guilt for, just not getting it to the level that you dreamed of or that you desired. Guilt can hit in a lot of different ways, and guilt works in a really strange and mysterious way sometimes because a lot of the things that sometimes we can even feel guilty about things that are completely out of our control, completely out of our hands. But we feel guilty that it didn't get done. Well, you can only control what you can control. So we have to sort of think about that. And then the other emotional uh, aspect is that you can begin to then feel stuck and uninspired. You start to feel like, well, this thing that I worked so hard on and I was so proud to get out, well, that didn't work out. So what's the point in me moving on and doing something else? I feel, I'm in the process of writing my next book, and I'm really kind of stuck. I've got the idea, I've got the concept, I've started outlining it. I started outlining it months ago at this point. And now I'm at a place of, I don't know, I might want to go in a different direction. So then you can have that kind of like confusion. And then when you still have a whole bunch of other stuff going on, it gets put on the back burner and it becomes less and less important. And then you have to decide, okay, is this something that is really important for me to accomplish and really put yourself on a timeline to get it done? Um, so let's think about ways that this mindset develops. One way that you can develop a mindset of being everywhere, nowhere at the same time is overstimulation. What does that mean? Overstimulation is when you have so much information coming in that it is overwhelming and you're so hyperstimulated that you can't really do anything. You feel just like you're just in a state of like I said earlier, staring at a screen or a wall or the sky or something, right? Just staring out into space. And so it can come from and now we have this influx of information. Like we're always getting information. We've got social media, we've got the 24-hour news cycle, we've got and we've got all kinds of audible ways of taking in information. Many of us stay on social media way longer than we should. We don't fast from it. We don't take breaks from it. We are completely addicted to it. Just this motion of scrolling to a point where we're so busy being overstimulated by what seems to be happening in other people's lives that we don't take the time to sit and focus on what is happening in our own lives. And when we do that, we don't have a way of being able to utilize our gifts and talents to contribute to the world because we're stuck on scrolling. And we're stuck on other people, a lot of whom are frankly stuck on stupid. So there's that. It's the truth. A lot of the stuff that we allow to just take up residence in our minds, when we really think about it, it's just not worth it. It's not worth our sanity. It's not worth our, not being present, as I've spoken about before, with the ones who we love and who love us. It's not worth it. So, being overly stimulated on the constant intake of information and information just for information's sake. And information, a lot of which, if we're just getting it off of TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and all these platforms is not even true. And that we don't even bother to vet. Like we don't even bother to find out whether or not it's true. We just immediately grab it and just run with it. So, and so not only are we taking in constant information, but a lot of the information that we're taking in is information that's not even true. And so we've got a lot of stuff coming in and nothing coming out. And in a word, that's called constipation. And a lot of times, constipation doesn't only happen in the gut. Constipation happens up here too, where we are taking in so much information so quickly and we're not able to digest it properly. We're not able to take the trash that we take in and throw it out quick enough, right? And digest the things that are important that actually mean something that could actually make a difference in your life. Um, and in the people's lives that we care about. Thank you, brother Reverend Darren, for your comment. Appreciate you tuning in tonight. God bless you. Um, and so a lot of times when we have that constipation of the mind, that's what it ends. We're everywhere and nowhere. We got a whole lot in us, right? But ain't nothing coming out. Nothing, nothing worth anything coming out. And so, we have to really pay attention to what we are allowing in and then what we are constipating ourselves with. And we have to decide that we going to get the mess out. All right. So, the other thing that gets us into this mindset of being everywhere and nowhere is fear. Sometimes when we are busy, sometimes when we are just doing things, we're just busy for busyness sake. It's being busy without a clear goal. It's like, well, what are you doing that for? It's kind of like this war we're in. Why are we over here? Why are we fighting Iran? There, well, the goal is to, all right, let's get off the Epstein files, right? It's a distraction. I think most of us know that, but it's like, what are we doing that for? We're doing stuff with no clear goal, right? No goal in mind, just doing stuff just to be doing it. What is the point of that? That is wasting time. That is wasting energy and effort that could actually be used and put towards something good that can benefit not only yourself, but your community, your family. You could do something that is worth something. And so, but a lot of times when we're busy like that, it's because it's really out of fear, right? We can even go back to the example of the war, fear of, oh, more information is going to get out and, and people are going to get locked up and all of that. And the people with all this money are going to lose something, right? That's the fear that causes people to just do things that's just, not that shouldn't be done. So sometimes you have to really sit and think, am I doing this, whatever it is you're doing? Am I busy? Is my busyness producing anything good? Or am I just really fearful that if I would just stop and recognize how great I could be? If I stop and recognize, I did a post the other day about a lesson from a goose. Go find that. Because these geese be getting hit. It's like they forget that they can fly. And we forget that we can fly. We can fly above the things that are keeping us down and above the things that are making us fearful. Sometimes we fear how great we could be. Because why? With greatness comes responsibility. To whom much is given, much is required. And it is that part. Go back so many episodes ago on Monumental Monday. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't. Go subscribe right now. Um, you know, to whom much is given, much is required. And many of us fear that required part. What is it going to require of me? What am I going to have to put in? What more work or effort am I going to have to put in to make sure that this great thing happens, right? So it's really that we fear how great we could be, but what the cost of that greatness will be. That is where the fear comes in. Um, and so fear of also fear of failure. If we're not fearful of how great we can be, we're fearful of the fact that we might fail. Well, there's really not really a such thing as failure. There's a such thing as this didn't work. Here's what I learned from what didn't work. And here's how I'm going to modify things moving forward to mitigate the challenge that happened that caused this thing not to work. But there are lessons to be learned from all of it. And so if you're learning something from it and you are applying those lessons, it's really not failure. It's just education. And education always costs something. It does. All right. So the other thing is lack of clarity, not knowing your why. What is your why for wanting to do this thing? Or what are your priorities? That's why I was saying earlier to do that brain dump, get everything out, and then it's on paper, you can see it clearly, and you can figure out what is the priority, what needs to get done now. And you can also get clarity about your why. Why do I want to do this to begin with? What is the purpose? Um, Sometimes you have, not, you're trying to do everything rather than pausing and thinking about, okay, what is the right thing? Right? Sometimes not everything is required, right? Some things that we do we're just doing just to say we did it, just to feel like we're somebody when we already are somebody. Our creator already told us that. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. We're already made in our creator's image. When we look at ourselves, we see our creator, right? So that means that, we already um we already we start from a place of victory already. So we don't have to sort of fear, you know, not being taken seriously, or fear success. We don't have to fear, we get a better understanding of what our priorities need to be. That doesn't need to be a priority because you already are. God already made you who you are, right? So you don't have to prioritize that. You just now have to prioritize, now what is your purpose in this moment. That's where your priorities start. um Trying to do and when you're trying to do everything um and not the right thing, you expend a lot of energy that you don't really need to expend. So, so think about those things that are caused by this state of mind. Lastly, mental exhaustion and burnout. I'm telling you, I know that there are a lot of people who can identify with being burnt out because, as I said earlier, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on in different areas of life. It would be one thing if you could just focus on one area of life. Like, if I could just focus on one thing, great, we could do that. But when you got to focus on like 20 things in five different categories, oh my gosh. And especially if you're a leader, if you're in leadership, I was telling somebody recently how I come from a family of leaders. And literally since childhood, I have been in leadership positions. And I feel like literally in every area of life. And there's some times where I just want to sit back. I want to just sit in the back in the corner and like for somebody to like tell me what to do. Like I don't want to have to be the visionary. I don't have to think about like I just give me my one little task to do and I'll do that. Like sometimes that's where I'm at. I just want to be there. I don't want to be the leader, that has to kind of corral everybody else, to do whatever needs to get done. Because, yeah, you just get to that place. And then you get burned out because you're doing a whole lot, but just making sure and prioritizing the most important things and make sure that what you are doing is leading to something fulfilling for yourself and something fulfilling, if you like, for others that you are doing it for as well. All right. So here's the cost, because when we are everywhere and nowhere at the same time, there is a cost associated with being everywhere and nowhere. Um, Lost time and missed opportunities. If I could tell you how much time I spend just, as I call it, in La La Land, it's just ridiculous. I think about it and I'm like, man, I could have written 3 chapters by now if I just, let myself get out of get out of my head, get out of all the stuff in my head, get out of La La Land. If I could just focus just for a few minutes, I could get a whole lot more done. But, so you lose time, and when you lose time, you can miss opportunities, because when an opportunity presents itself, you're not prepared. You're not ready. And you saying, well, can you just give me a few more days? You give me a few more days, I can get it ready. No, I need it now. What's that saying? Eh, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, right? But, and so that's a part of that. We're not able to kind of stay ready, because we're just kind of spending time, wasting time. And time is a commodity. Do y'all see how fast time is going by? It is almost April 2026. We are almost 4 months into the year 2026. Time is not slowing down. It's not waiting. Michael Jackson said, time waits for no one. I know he didn't coin that that quote, but time waits for no one. It is not waiting. It's not waiting for us to get ourselves together. It's not waiting for us to prioritize, to get our priorities straight. It's not waiting for us to gain clarity. It's not waiting for us to sit down and put our face forward and do the work required. Time is not waiting. It's not. And so if we realize that, we recognize how valuable time is. We so worried about, we worried about money and things, but time is the most valuable commodity we have. And if you waste that, then there's no telling what else you're wasting, because everything is happening in time. Right? Everything that's happening is happening in real time. So it's time that is the real commodity here. And so we shouldn't, waste it. Decreased confidence. Like I never finish anything. Have you ever felt like that? Or are you that kind of person that feels like, you start stuff and then don't finish it? I know I'm that way with reading books. And that's so terrible. I can't tell you how many like quarter read, half read books I have either on the bookshelf or in my Kindle. Like, it's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And so creative stagnation. You're just stagnant. Like, your creative juices don't seem to be flowing. Sometimes you have to put yourself in a place where your creative juices can flow. I know for me, it's being out in nature. Like when I go outside, and especially if it's a sunny day, it's a beautiful day, go outside, take a walk, get some energy, get some clarity. In my brain, I might listen to some, just music that helps me think, or I might listen to a podcast or do something that is going to stimulate your mind, to give yourself permission to move forward. That is something that you can do, so that to jumpstart your creative juices, to flowing again. And then, the cost of being everywhere is also emotional drain. It is draining. It can be really draining, because you got so much in your head. And that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And when you have so much in your head that's not going anywhere, the other thing that you do is you lose sleep. Like you end up not being able to sleep because your mind is always going. You lay down and you try to go to sleep, and you're not, even if you go to sleep, it's not like you don't get into that deep, restful kind of sleep. And so now you wake up tired all the time and you're drained. You're just emotionally drained, thinking about, not only thinking about all the things you have to do, and then on top of that, thinking about all the things happening in the world, and then on top of that, thinking about thinking to yourself what you can't do, and telling and having that negative talk, self-talk happening. Um, that's a lethal combination. And so we have to kind of get through that. So I'm going to wrap up this evening's Mind the Mental Monday. Thank you for rocking out and sticking with me. Um, but I want to give some practical strategies to help to refocus, so that you can move from everywhere and nowhere at the same time, and find yourself somewhere somewhere moving forward. All right. All right. So one of the ways that you can sort of get clarity, more clarity, is to pray and ask God, what are you calling me to do in this season? The thing about praying is that it's a it's a two-way conversation. A lot of times we view prayer as a one-way conversation. It's like we just give this laundry list of things to God, that's like, God, do this, do that, and do the other. Like God is like our personal, butler, and we just tell him what we want and just, God, do it. Um, do it, God, do it for me. Do it for me right now. Not in your time, and none of that. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. No, not that. No, no, I want you to do it. Lord, do it. Remember that song? Do it for me now. God is saying, mm, yeah, when I thought I was God, I thought it was supposed to be done in my timing. So, you got to open yourself up to hearing from the Creator too. Stop doing all the talking. Just yep, 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 yep. Stop it. Stop it. Stop talking and listen and hear what God is calling you to do in this season. What actually matters right now? What's important for right now, for such a time as this? What is important? Um, write down your top three priorities. What are your top three priorities? Not your top 10, not your top five, your top three priorities. Write them down. I already talked earlier about the brain dump. That's the next thing, is to do the brain dump. Write everything that's in your head, just all of it. Just write it down. Categorize it into these three categories: must do, not now, and not for me. Because guess what? Not everything that's thrown your way is for you. Not every ball that's thrown is meant for you to catch. Some balls are meant for you to just drop. Just let it go. All right. So categorize your brain dump into what you must do, what you so must do, not now, and not for me. Third thing, adopt the one thing discipline. Focus on one major goal at a time. So you've listed three priorities, right? I would maybe reorder it and do the brain dump first, and then do the three priorities. And then once you do the three priorities, then you focus on one at a time. Too many times we try to focus on everything all at once. Our brains are not designed to do that. I know that, especially women, we always think that we can, we can focus on a whole bunch of things, and we can multitask. That's a term that we love to use. I can multitask. Well, your brain is not designed to multitask. It's really not. Your brain is really designed to focus on one thing at a time. And so one major goal at a time. All right. And then find ways to create structure for yourself. Not everything that works for somebody else will work for you. So find out for yourself what works for you in terms of creating structure without the overwhelm. So for some people, blocking time. So you might, block an hour, say, well, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to go read my emails. From this time to this time, I'm going to work on this one task or project. From this time to this time, I'm gonna take a break. From this time to this time, I'm gonna eat, just block time for specific things or a specific thing. Um, block time to do. You might want to have theme days. Like Mondays might be a day that you want to plan out the week. Um, you know, Tuesdays might be the day that you kind of really start doing the work. But give yourself a day to sort of plan out what your week is going to look like. Limit distractions. That's the fifth thing. Limit distractions. Set boundaries with social media, with notifications, and they're in your settings on your phone. You can set it up in your phone to not receive notifications. You get these things, text messages, things or things that you see on social media. Can we send you notifications? No. No. Can we get your location? No. You don't need my location. You don't need you don't need to notify me. I'll figure it out. Some things you might want to get notifications for, but other things like you don't have to get notified for everything. And you can delete social media platforms and just take a break from them for however long you decide. You can set things up like that in your phone as well. So these little phone things, we can do a lot with them. We can do a lot of good and we can do a lot of bad. So choose wisely. Um, finish before you start. So, finish finish a task before you start something new. Get through something. When you feel that sense of accomplishment, it just makes you feel so much better. And it just makes you feel like going on. It's like, oh, I can do this. I got this done. I can do more. It gives you so finish something. Um, replace negative thoughts with positive ones. And we've done this a gazillion times, right? You know, replace like I have to do everything with I will do what matters most, right? That helps you to focus in on what is really important and what really is a priority. Um, rest and reset. I cannot tell you how important it is to allow yourself, give yourself permission to rest and reset. You do not have to try to do a whole bunch of things on empty because you're going to end up doing a whole bunch of nothing everywhere and nowhere at the same time. All right? So rest and reset, shift your mindset, tell yourself rather than like I just told myself how I'm not focused. I am focused. I'm focused. I complete what I start. My energy is aligned with my purpose. So, those are some affirmations that you can say to yourself as you are moving from being everywhere and nowhere at the same time to being somewhere and getting something done. All right. So, you don't need more time, you need more intention. We're not going to get more time. Time is already spent, it's done. So we have to utilize the time that we're given with intention to do the right thing and to do it with intentionality. All right. So Here is your call to action for this week. 1, choose one thing to focus on this week. Choose one thing to focus on, eliminate one distraction, and then complete one task fully. Did you get that? Remember that these assignments, as I'm giving you, will also be you will be able to find this episode on my YouTube channel, but you will also find the companion blog to it on my website, benitaweathers.com. Go there, subscribe to the blog, and you will find these assignments there in the blog as well. All right. So here's your challenge, your call to action again. Choose one thing to focus on this week. Eliminate one distraction. And then 3, complete one task fully. All right. So here's your reflection question. Where has your energy been going, and is it producing anything? Think about where your energy has been going. Where has it been going? And is it producing anything? All right. So I hope that you were able to get something out of this episode of Mind the Mental Monday. Let me know if I was by myself or if y'all were with me. Say, put it in the chat like I'm with you or something to let me know that I'm not the only one going through this kind of phase of I feel like I'm everywhere and nowhere at the same time. All right. So, um, have a great week. Have a productive week by choosing one thing to focus on, eliminating one distraction, and completing one task this week. And then let me know how you did. Put it in the comments. At the end of the week, I'll get my team and together and we can repost those questions and see if you actually did the self work. I hope you do the self work because it's for you and it's for me too. We're in this together. You're not alone. All right. So blessings to all of you and have an amazing, amazing week. And as I say every week, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. I will see you next week.
Are you minding your mental when life gets loud and nothing seems as simple? Make sure you're minding your mental. Focus on where you're headed, not just what you've been.